The laughter came sharp and sudden, slicing through the quiet hum of the restaurant like a glass shattering on marble. It wasn't loud enough to stop the world, but it was enough to stop him. He froze, his hand still resting on the edge of the worn menu, his fingers rough and trembling slightly from years of hard labor. His young daughter, barely 7, looked up at him with wide, uncertain eyes, sensing something had shifted but not yet understanding what. The waitress hadn't meant for him to hear. But he did. And in that single moment, the weight of years seemed to press harder on his shoulders. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that people deserve more than the judgments placed on them, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Verse. Stories like this remind us why compassion matters. It was late morning, and sunlight poured gently through the tall glass windows of the upscale restaurant. The place wasn't overcrowded, but it carried the soft buzz of clinking cutlery, murmured conversations, and the distant hiss of a coffee machine. Everything about it whispered quiet luxury. He didn't belong there. Or at least, that's what everyone seemed to think. Ryan Qureshi sat stiffly in his chair, his faded shirt neatly pressed but clearly old, his shoes scuffed despite being carefully cleaned. Across from him sat his daughter, Meher, her hair tied in 2 uneven ponytails, her dress simple but spotless. They didn't look like customers who would spend much. And the waitress, Sienna, had noticed that the moment they walked in. She had watched them take their seats near the window, exchanging a glance with her coworker that carried a silent assumption. People like them didn't come here unless it was a mistake, or worse, unless they planned to order the cheapest thing and occupy a table meant for bigger spenders. Still, professionalism had guided her steps as she approached them. But when Ryan quietly asked about the least expensive item on the menu, her composure cracked just enough. And then came that laugh. Not cruel in intention, but careless in impact. Now, standing a few feet away, Sienna tried to recover, brushing her hair behind her ear as if nothing had happened. But Ryan had heard. And he had understood. Still, he didn't react. He simply smiled softly at his daughter and placed the order. 2 plates. The simplest dishes available. Meher beamed, her excitement untouched by the invisible tension. For her, this was a special day. A rare outing. A moment with her father that felt like a celebration, even if she didn't fully understand why. Ryan watched her with quiet warmth, his heart tightening in a way that had nothing to do with embarrassment. He had promised her this. And he always kept his promises. As the minutes passed, Sienna moved between tables, her earlier laughter already fading from her mind. But something about the man lingered. The way he sat. The calm dignity he carried despite everything. It unsettled her in a way she couldn't quite explain. She found herself glancing back at him more often than necessary. There was no anger in his expression. No resentment. Just patience. And that made her feel strangely uncomfortable. In the kitchen, an urgent call broke her thoughts. The manager had asked her to retrieve a file from the office upstairs. It was routine, nothing important. Just another task in a long shift. She climbed the narrow staircase, pushed open the office door, and began searching through a stack of documents. That's when she saw it. A framed certificate on the wall. At first, she didn't pay attention. But then her eyes caught the name. Her breath hitched. She stepped closer, her heart suddenly pounding louder than it should. Ryan Qureshi. The name was printed in bold, elegant letters beneath the title, Founder and Owner. Her stomach dropped. She blinked, once, twice, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less impossible. But they didn't. Her mind raced, replaying the scene from moments ago. The worn clothes. The quiet voice. The question about the cheapest item. Her laugh. Her laugh. A wave of heat rushed to her face as realization struck with crushing force. The man she had dismissed, the man she had quietly judged, was the very person who owned not just this restaurant, but the entire chain. Her hands trembled as she backed away from the wall, her thoughts spiraling. How could that be? Why would someone like him come in like that? And then, slowly, the answer began to form. Not everyone who has wealth wears it. Not everyone who has power displays it. And not everyone who has been through something chooses to show it. Sienna rushed downstairs, her heart beating wildly, her breath uneven. The restaurant looked the same as before, but everything felt different now. Her eyes found him instantly. He was still there, sitting across from his daughter, watching her eat with quiet joy. There was no sign of arrogance. No hint of superiority. Just a father, sharing a simple meal with his child. Sienna approached the table, her steps hesitant, her confidence gone. For the first time since she started working there, she didn't know what to say. Ryan looked up at her, his expression calm, almost kind. And that made it harder. Because he knew. Of course he knew. People like him, she realized now, had heard far worse than a careless laugh. Her voice came out softer than she intended as she placed a glass of water on the table, her hands slightly unsteady. But Ryan didn't confront her. He didn't embarrass her. He didn't even mention it. Instead, he simply nodded in quiet acknowledgement, as if giving her the space to understand on her own. And somehow, that was far more powerful than any reprimand could have been. As she walked away, Sienna felt something shift deep within her. It wasn't fear. It was something heavier. Regret. The kind that lingers long after the moment has passed. The rest of the meal unfolded quietly. Meher laughed, her innocence untouched, her joy genuine. Ryan listened, his eyes soft, as if this simple moment meant more to him than any luxury ever could. When they finished, he stood, took his daughter's hand, and walked toward the exit. But before leaving, he paused. He turned slightly, his gaze meeting Sienna's once more. And in that look, there was no anger. Only a quiet reminder. That people are more than what they appear to be. That kindness costs nothing. And that sometimes, the smallest moments reveal the deepest truths. If this story touched your heart, if it made you reflect even for a moment, please take a second to like, comment, and share it. Your support helps stories like these reach others who might need them.